The accusation began 12 minutes before the wedding ceremony, inside a bridal suite filled with white roses, crystal perfume bottles, and women who had spent the morning telling Celeste Pembroke that she looked perfect. Imani Brooks was fastening the final pearl button on the back of Celeste's wedding gown when the bride reached for the velvet jewelry case beside the mirror. The case was empty. For several seconds, Celeste simply stared at the pale satin lining. Then she pulled open every drawer on the dressing table, scattering makeup brushes, hairpins, and handwritten vows across the floor. "Where is it?" The bridesmaids stopped talking. Imani stepped away from the gown. "What's missing?" Celeste turned so quickly that the long lace train twisted around her feet. "My grandmother's necklace." The necklace was the Pembroke family's most famous heirloom, 43 diamonds surrounding a rare blue sapphire, insured for nearly $2 million. Society magazines had photographed Celeste wearing it at the rehearsal dinner. Her mother, Helena Pembroke, had presented it to her in front of the wedding videographer while describing it as a symbol of 4 generations of family loyalty. Now the case was empty. Celeste looked around the suite once, then her gaze settled on Imani. "You were alone in here." Imani's face remained still. "No, I wasn't. You helped me dress before the bridesmaids arrived. The stylist, the makeup artist, and your cousin were moving in and out. But you were the only servant near the jewelry." Imani's eyes hardened at the word. She was not Celeste's servant. She was a senior house attendant employed by the Pembroke estate, responsible for managing private rooms, valuable objects, and guest arrangements. She had worked for the family for 9 years and supervised 12 employees. Celeste knew her title. She chose not to use it. "I did not touch the necklace," Imani said. Celeste's cousin, Daphne Croft, closed the suite door. "Perhaps it was moved for security." "No one moves that necklace without telling me," Celeste snapped. Her mother entered from the adjoining room wearing a silver gown and a composed expression that disappeared when she saw the empty case. "What happened?" "The necklace is gone." Helena looked first at the case, then at Imani. The speed of that second look told Imani everything. "Search the room," Helena ordered. The bridesmaids began lifting cushions and checking drawers. Daphne looked beneath the dressing table. Celeste opened the wardrobe and threw aside garment bags. Imani did not move. Helena noticed. "Why are you standing there?" "Because I know the necklace is not in my pockets." Celeste faced her. "No one said it was." "You didn't have to." The wedding planner, Renata Sloan, appeared in the doorway and asked whether the ceremony needed to be delayed. Helena told her to close the corridor and prevent any staff member from leaving the mansion. Imani stared at her. "You are locking down the employees?" "Until the necklace is found. There are almost 300 guests here." "The guests were not inside the bridal suite. Neither were most of the employees." Celeste stepped toward Imani. Her veil framed a face that looked beautiful from a distance and cruel up close. "Empty your pockets." "No." A bridesmaid inhaled sharply. Celeste's voice lowered. "I am asking you politely. You accused me before asking whether your family entered this room. My family does not steal from me." Imani glanced toward Daphne, who immediately looked away. "Then call the police and let them investigate everyone." Helena's expression changed. "We are not bringing police into this house during the wedding." "Then you are not interested in an investigation." "We are interested in recovering what belongs to us." Imani understood the trap. If she allowed Celeste to search her, the humiliation would become proof of obedience. If she refused, they would call it suspicious. She removed the small keyring from her waist and placed it on the dressing table. "I will wait for law enforcement. I will not let a bride search me because she has already decided what kind of person can be guilty." Celeste's face reddened. "You are forgetting where you work." "No, I remember exactly where I work." The groom arrived before anyone could answer. Adrian Valahurst was 35, the only son of a family whose private investment company controlled banks, energy firms, and hotel chains. His wedding to Celeste had been presented as the union of 2 dynasties. Photographers waited outside the estate gates. The reception alone had cost more than most families earned in a lifetime. Adrian entered the suite despite protests that seeing the bride before the ceremony was bad luck. "What is happening?" Celeste ran to him. "Someone stole the Pembroke necklace." Adrian looked at the empty case. "Are you sure it wasn't moved?" "Imani was the last person alone with it." "I was never alone with it," Imani said. Celeste turned. "Stop lying." The words echoed across the suite. Adrian looked from Celeste to Imani. He had known Imani for several years and had seen how the household depended on her. She remembered medications, protected private conversations, and solved mistakes before guests noticed them. "Did anyone check the security cameras?" he asked. Helena answered quickly. "There are no cameras inside the private bedrooms." "What about the corridor?" "The security team is reviewing them." Celeste gripped Adrian's arm. "We have to find it before the ceremony. My grandmother will notice immediately." Her grandmother, Octavia Pembroke, was 87 and seated downstairs among the most important guests. The necklace had belonged to her before she gave it to Celeste as a wedding gift. Adrian looked toward Imani. "Can you tell us exactly what happened?" "I brought the pressed veil at 11:20. The necklace was inside the case when Mrs. Pembroke placed it on Celeste 10 minutes later. Celeste wore it while the videographer recorded several shots. Then Daphne said the neckline looked too crowded and suggested removing it until after the photographs. I saw Celeste place it back in the case." Daphne folded her arms. "Are you suggesting I took it?" "I'm describing what happened." Celeste pointed at Imani. "She knows every lock in this mansion. She knows where we keep valuables. She knew how much the necklace was worth." Imani met her eyes. So did everyone invited here. The door opened again. Security Chief Marshal Dane entered with 2 guards and a tablet. Marshall had worked for Helena for 15 years and understood that the family preferred discreet conclusions over complicated truths. "The corridor footage shows Ms. Brooks entering the bridal suite at 11:18, he said. "She left at 11:46 carrying a garment bag." Imani frowned. "The bag contained Celeste's rehearsal dress. Renata asked me to move it downstairs." Marshall continued. "The next person to leave was the makeup artist at 11:52, then 2 bridesmaids." "What about Daphne?" Imani asked. "She remained in the area." "In the area is not the same as in the room." Celeste lifted her chin. "Search the garment bag." "It is in the wardrobe room," Imani said. Marshall sent 1 guard to retrieve it. The wait lasted 4 minutes. No one spoke to Imani. They spoke around her. Helena asked whether insurance could be contacted without alerting the press. Celeste cried that the necklace mattered because it represented her grandmother, not because of its price. Daphne comforted her while avoiding Imani's gaze. The guard returned carrying the ivory garment bag. Marshall placed it on a chaise lounge and opened it. Inside was the silver rehearsal dress, folded tissue paper, and a small black pouch. Imani stared at the pouch. "I have never seen that." Celeste grabbed it before Marshall could stop her. The sapphire necklace slid into her hand. A bridesmaid covered her mouth. Helena closed her eyes. Adrian looked at Imani. Imani did not move. Celeste's tears disappeared almost instantly. "You put it there." "No." "It was in the bag you carried." "I did not put it there," Daphne whispered. "This is unbelievable." Imani looked at her. "Yes, it is." Marshall reached for Imani's arm. "You will come with us." Adrian stepped between them. "Wait." Celeste stared at him. The necklace was in her bag. It was in a bag she carried through hallways full of staff and guests. "You're defending her?" "I'm asking for a complete investigation." Helena's voice became cold. "The evidence is complete enough." Imani looked around the room. Women she had served breakfast to, protected from gossip, and helped through private disasters were now studying her as if they had always expected something criminal beneath her uniform. She turned to Marshall. "You are not taking me through the main hall in handcuffs." "No one mentioned handcuffs." Then don't touch me. Celeste stepped closer. You should be grateful we are handling this privately. Amani laughed once, without humor. You accused me in front of 12 people, planted evidence in a bag I carried, and now you want gratitude because the guests downstairs haven't seen it yet? Celeste slapped her. The sound cracked through the suite. Adrian seized Celeste's wrist before she could strike again. What are you doing? She stole from me. Amani's cheek burned, but her voice remained steady. The necklace is back. Your ceremony can continue. I will wait for the police. Helena moved between them. There will be no police until after the wedding. Then I am leaving. You are not leaving the property. I am not your prisoner. Marshall blocked the door. Amani looked at Adrian. Do you agree with this? His silence lasted only 2 seconds, but she remembered every part of it. I think everyone should remain until we know exactly what happened, he said. Amani nodded slowly. Then now I know. The family placed her inside a small office near the service wing with a guard outside. They did not call it detention. Helena said they were preventing a misunderstanding from becoming public. The ceremony began 28 minutes late. Celeste walked through the flower-covered hall wearing the necklace around her throat. Guests rose. Octavia Pembroke smiled from the front row, unaware that her granddaughter had publicly humiliated the woman who had spent years preparing her meals, arranging her medicine, and sitting beside her during sleepless nights. Imani heard the wedding music through the office walls. She sat beneath a framed photograph of the Pembroke estate and thought about the black pouch found in the garment bag. It was not hers. She had seen one like it before. Daphne used identical pouches to store small camera lenses and batteries. Imani told the guard she needed to speak to Marshall. He refused. She asked for her phone. He said Helena had ordered all personal devices held until after the ceremony. Imani looked at the locked office door and understood something important. They were not protecting the wedding from scandal. They were protecting their chosen version of the theft from evidence. The wedding videographer was a quiet man named Felix Arden. He had been hired to create a cinematic film of the entire weekend, including preparations, private interviews, aerial shots, and candid footage. Felix used 3 main cameras and several smaller devices placed in strategic areas with the family's permission. One small camera had been positioned on a bookshelf inside the bridal suite to record natural preparation footage. Everyone knew about it when filming began. No one remembered it after the necklace disappeared. Felix remembered. During the ceremony, he reviewed clips to prepare a short reception montage. While organizing the bridal suite footage, he noticed the argument surrounding the necklace had happened partly outside the frame. He also noticed something else. The camera had continued recording after Celeste removed the necklace. Felix replayed the footage. At 11:36, Celeste sat before the mirror while the stylist adjusted her veil. Daphne stood behind her, holding the velvet jewelry case. At 11:38, Imani entered with the garment bag and hung it on the wardrobe door. At 11:40, Helena called Celeste into the adjoining sitting room for photographs with Octavia. Imani followed the bride to repair the train of her gown. The bridal suite remained empty except for Daphne. Daphne looked toward the open doorway. Then she lifted the necklace from the case. She did not place it inside her own purse. She carried it to the vanity, where a floral arrangement concealed part of the camera's view. After several seconds, she returned without the necklace. 3 minutes later, Imani re-entered, removed the garment bag, and left. Daphne followed her into the corridor. The necklace had not yet been planted in the bag. Felix checked footage from his roaming camera. One of his assistants had filmed staff arranging flowers near the wardrobe room downstairs. In the background, Daphne approached the rack where Imani had left the garment bag. She waited until 2 employees turned away. Then she opened it and placed something inside. Felix watched the sequence twice. He immediately searched for Adrian. The ceremony was ending. Celeste and Adrian stood before hundreds of guests while the officiant pronounced them husband and wife. Applause filled the hall. Felix could not interrupt without creating chaos, So he approached Adrian's mother, Elise Valahurst, during the transition to the reception. Elise was a reserved woman in her early 60s who managed the Valahurst Family Foundation and trusted polished people less than most members of her social circle did. Felix showed her the footage on his monitor. She watched without speaking. When the clip ended, she said, "Make 3 copies." I was going to show Adrian. First, make copies. Why? Because if the wrong person controls the only recording, it may stop existing. Felix copied the footage to 3 encrypted drives. He kept one, gave one to Elise, and uploaded another to secure cloud storage. Then they found Adrian inside the library with Celeste, Helena, and several family members. Celeste was removing the cathedral veil before the reception entrance. Adrian looked irritated when his mother interrupted. "What is it?" Elise placed the tablet on the desk. "The truth." Felix played the video. No one spoke during the first clip. On the screen, Daphne lifted the sapphire necklace from the velvet case. Celeste's mouth opened slightly. Helena moved closer to the tablet. The second clip showed Daphne placing the black pouch inside Amani's garment bag. Adrian watched the footage again. Then he turned toward Daphne. "Why?" Daphne's face had become almost gray. "You don't understand. I watched you steal the necklace." "I wasn't stealing it." Celeste stared at her cousin. "You put it in Amani's bag." "I was trying to protect you." "From what?" Daphne looked toward Helena. That look changed everything. Celeste followed it. "Mother?" Helena's composure cracked for the first time that day. "Daphne, say nothing else." Adrian stepped toward her. "No, she is going to explain." Helena straightened. "This is a family matter. You accused an innocent woman of theft and locked her in an office. The necklace was recovered. Because Daphne planted it." Celeste removed the necklace from her throat. "Why would she do that?" Daphne began to cry. Not delicately, not like a bridesmaid frightened by a misunderstanding. She cried like someone who had carried a dangerous secret until the weight became unbearable. "The necklace was supposed to disappear permanently," she said. Helena closed her eyes. Daphne continued. "Your mother asked me to replace it with an insured replica after the wedding photographs." Celeste looked at the sapphire in her hand. "A replica?" "No, that is the real one. I changed the plan." Helena crossed the room. "Daphne is confused." "I am not confused." "Then you are lying." Daphne looked at Celeste. "Your family is nearly bankrupt." The words silenced the library. The Pembrokes still appeared wealthy. They maintained the mansion, attended charity galas, employed household staff, and hosted a wedding that newspapers called the event of the season. But appearances were being financed through debt. Helena's late husband had invested heavily in failing commercial properties. After his death, Helena concealed the losses by borrowing against the estate, the family art collection, and several trusts meant for Octavia's care. The sapphire necklace was one of the few major assets not already pledged as collateral. Helena planned to report it stolen during the wedding, collect the insurance payment, and sell the original privately through a broker. Amani was meant to carry the blame. "Why Amani?" Adrian asked. Helena said nothing. Daphne answered, "Because she had access, because she isn't family, because Helena thought the police would believe a maid stole it." Imani was not a maid, but Daphne used the word Helena had used during planning. Celeste looked at her mother with horror. "You planned this before today?" Helena's voice became defensive. "I was protecting our home." "By framing Imani." "She would not have gone to prison." Everyone looked at her. Helena seemed to realize too late what she had admitted. "I would have arranged for the necklace to be recovered anonymously," she continued. "The investigation would have ended." "After destroying her reputation," Elise said. Helena turned. "You have no idea what it takes to preserve a family estate." Elise's expression remained cold. "I know what it looks like when someone calls cruelty preservation." Celeste looked toward Daphne. "Why didn't you follow the plan?" Daphne wiped her face. I agreed because Helena promised no one would be charged. She said it would look like a staff mistake and the insurance company would settle quietly. But this morning I heard her tell Marshall to make sure Imani could not leave before police arrived. Marshall had not been part of the insurance scheme. Helena intended to manipulate him after the necklace was discovered. Daphne panicked. She removed the real necklace from the jewelry case before Helena's hired broker could exchange it for the replica. She hid it briefly behind the flower arrangement, then planted it in Imani's garment bag. Her plan was desperate and cruel in a different way. She believed that if the necklace were found quickly, Helena could not report it missing to insurance. She expected Imani to be accused temporarily, then cleared when Daphne anonymously revealed where she had placed it. Instead, the family found the necklace immediately and treated the planted evidence as proof. You still framed her, Adrian said. I know. You watched Celeste slap her. Daphne's eyes filled again. I was afraid. Imani's earlier words returned to Adrian. Then now I know. He left the library and went directly to the service office. The guard opened the door. Imani stood when Adrian entered. One side of her face remained red from the slap. We found the video, he said. She looked at him without relief. Who took it? Daphne, but Helena planned the theft. Imani listened while he explained. When he finished, she asked, Where is Celeste? In the library. Did she send you? No? Then why are you here? To release you. Imani looked at the open door. You had no right to hold me. I know. No, you know now that I was innocent. That is different. Adrian did not answer. You watched them search my things, she continued. You heard Celeste call me a liar. You agreed I should be locked in here. I thought the evidence was a pouch in a bag hundreds of people could reach. I should have insisted on the video sooner. You should have insisted I was treated like a person before the video proved I deserved it. Adrian lowered his eyes. Imani collected her keyring from the guard's desk. I am leaving. The police are being called. Good. We will need your statement. My attorney will provide it. You have an attorney? I was accused of stealing $2 million from people rich enough to influence the investigation. Of course I called an attorney. The guard looked surprised. Imani had used the office landline after he stepped away during the ceremony. She contacted civil rights attorney Talia Mercer, a former prosecutor who had represented domestic employees falsely accused by wealthy employers. Talia was already on her way. Imani walked through the mansion's central hall while the reception guests drank champagne in the ballroom, unaware that the wedding had begun collapsing behind closed doors. She reached the front entrance before Celeste caught up with her. The bride still wore the gown but no longer wore the sapphire necklace. Imani, wait. Imani turned. Celeste stopped several feet away. I know what happened. So do I. I didn't know my mother planned it. You didn't need to know the plan to humiliate me. Celeste's eyes filled. I was terrified. So was I. I thought the necklace was gone. You thought that made me a thief. It was found in your bag. After you had already accused me. Celeste looked down. You slapped me, Imani said. I'm sorry. The apology sounded small beneath the enormous chandelier. Imani had once sat with Celeste during a panic attack before her first public charity speech. She had hidden Celeste's father's alcoholism from reporters, repaired dresses minutes before galas, and remained beside her during her grandmother's hospital stays. None of that history protected her when something valuable disappeared. Would you have believed me without the video? Imani asked. Celeste's silence was the answer. You are sorry because you were wrong, Imani said. You should be sorry for how easily you believed being rich made you right. Talia arrived with 2 police officers. The music stopped when uniformed investigators entered the ballroom. Guests turned. Whispers spread. Helena tried to direct police toward a private entrance, but Talia insisted that Imani's detention, the planted evidence, and the physical assault be documented immediately. Marshall surrendered the black pouch and the jewelry case. Felix provided the original footage. Daphne gave a complete statement. Investigators searched Helena's private office and found emails with an art broker named Corvin Slate. The messages described the necklace's private sale, the insurance policy, and the need for a credible internal suspect. One email contained a line that prosecutors later repeated in court. "The Brooks woman has access to every private room. No one will question how she took it." Police also discovered the replica necklace inside a locked box in Helena's dressing room. The fake stones were convincing enough to pass during wedding photographs, but not professional examination. Helena was arrested before the reception dinner. She left the mansion in the same silver gown she had chosen for the celebration, walking past guests who had spent years admiring her elegance. Daphne was also charged for stealing the necklace and planting evidence, though her cooperation and decision to prevent the insurance fraud reduced the charges. Celeste was not arrested for the theft, but Imani filed an assault complaint. The slap had been recorded by another camera inside the suite. Adrian canceled the reception. He did not cancel the legal marriage immediately. The documents had already been signed after the ceremony, but he left the estate separately from Celeste and announced that the marriage would not be registered formally until he understood whether they still had a future. Celeste accused him of abandoning her during the worst day of her life. He answered, "The worst part of today did not happen to you." The story reached the press before midnight. Initial headlines focused on the missing sapphire and the arrested mother of the bride. Then Felix's video became part of the public court record. Viewers saw Daphne take the necklace. They saw her plant it in Imani's bag. They saw Celeste accuse Imani before the bag was searched. They saw the slap. The wealthy family's attempt to keep the scandal private ensured that millions eventually watched it. Helena's attorneys argued that financial desperation impaired her judgment. Prosecutors showed that the plan had developed over 3 months. She had increased the necklace's insurance coverage, contacted a private buyer, commissioned the replica, and researched which staff members had access to the bridal suite. Imani was not chosen randomly. Helena selected her because she was black, because she worked in the home, and because Helena believed social prejudice would perform half the deception for her. Daphne testified against her. "I told myself I was helping save the estate," she said. "But the plan only worked if everyone looked at Imani and saw a thief before seeing a woman they had known for years." Helena was convicted of attempted insurance fraud, conspiracy, evidence tampering, unlawful detention, and obstruction. She received a prison sentence and was ordered to repay legal and investigative costs. Daphne avoided prison but received probation, community service, and a permanent criminal record. She apologized to Imani privately and publicly. Imani accepted neither apology immediately. "Confession reduces your punishment," she told Daphne. "It does not reduce what you chose to do to me." Celeste pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault. Her attorneys offered a private settlement in exchange for confidentiality. Imani refused confidentiality. She accepted compensation only after the agreement required the Pembroke family to fund an independent legal support program for domestic and estate employees accused of crimes by their employers. The program would not carry Imani's name. She did not want another wealthy family using her suffering as decoration. The Pembroke mansion was sold to satisfy debts. Octavia moved into a smaller residence with professional medical care. When she learned the full truth, she asked Imani to visit. Imani almost declined. She went because Octavia had never participated in the accusation and because, during 9 years of work, the older woman had treated her with more respect than most of the family. Octavia sat beside a window with the sapphire necklace in its velvet case. "I gave this to Celeste because I believe she understood what it represented," she said. What did it represent? Continuity, duty, the responsibility to protect what a family inherits. Imani looked at the necklace. "Your daughter nearly destroyed someone to protect it." Octavia closed the case. "Then perhaps we taught the wrong lesson." She offered the necklace to Imani. Imani did not touch it. "I don't want it." "I did not mean as payment." It would still become a story about generosity. Keep it or sell it, but do something honest with it. Octavia later sold the necklace through a transparent auction. Part of the proceeds repaid employees who lost wages when the Pembroke estate collapsed. The remainder funded legal aid and housing support for household workers. The sapphire was purchased by a museum and displayed beside the wedding footage. The exhibit was not about luxury jewelry. It was titled The Value of Belief. Visitors saw the necklace, the replica, the black pouch, and selected frames from the video. A description explained how evidence could be manufactured successfully when prejudice had already prepared people to accept the accusation. Imani never returned to private household service. She used part of her settlement to establish Brooks Estate Standards, an independent company that trained wealthy households and staffing agencies in employee rights, security procedures, and fair investigations. Her first rule was simple: no employee could be searched, detained, or publicly accused without documented cause and independent review. Her second rule required security systems to protect staff as well as property. Some wealthy clients objected. "We hire people we trust," one estate owner said during a consultation. "Then your procedures should reflect that," Imani replied. "Trust that disappears the moment something expensive is missing was never trust." Adrian's marriage to Celeste was annulled. He did not portray himself as innocent. During a televised interview, he admitted he had failed Imani. "I thought asking everyone to remain calm was fairness," he said, "but I allowed an innocent woman to be detained because confronting the family would have disrupted the wedding. Neutrality protected the people with power." Celeste withdrew from public life for almost a year. When she returned, she no longer represented the family foundation, which had collapsed with the estate. She began working with an organization supporting women leaving financially abusive families. Some accused her of trying to repair her image. Perhaps part of her was. Change did not become meaningless merely because shame helped begin it, but Imani never allowed Celeste's later work to rewrite the wedding day. Several years after the scandal, a journalist asked Imani whether she had forgiven the bride. "Forgiveness is not the same as pretending someone's worst decision revealed nothing about them," she said. "Celeste believed me guilty before there was evidence. She believed the evidence after it was planted because it confirmed the place she had already assigned me." And the video changed everything? The video changed what they could deny. Imani kept one photograph from the Pembroke wedding. It was not a picture of the dress, the flowers, or the necklace. Felix had captured it accidentally before the accusation. Imani stood behind Celeste, carefully repairing the bride's veil while everyone else faced the mirror. Her expression was focused and patient. Celeste was smiling without looking back at the woman helping her. Imani framed the photograph inside her office. Beneath it, she placed a small card. "Pay attention to the people who make your perfect moments possible." The wealthy bride humiliated her black attendant because a valuable necklace disappeared, and prejudice supplied an answer faster than truth could. The family searched Imani's work, questioned her character, locked her away, and allowed the wedding to continue while she sat accused inside a service room. But the camera had been recording. It captured the cousin removing the sapphire. It captured the necklace being planted. And it preserved something even more revealing than the theft: how quickly people who had known Imani for years chose a convenient lie over her dignity. The wedding video exposed who stole the necklace. The family's reaction exposed who they had always believed was easiest to blame.